So let me introduce and welcome back Rabbi Allison Vann, who's been with us before, and I'm excited to welcome her back. She is a community rabbi in the Cleveland area and is also working part-time as a special initiatives coordinator for the Central Conference of American Rabbis. And she's working especially right now on the new Torah commentary that the CCAR Press will be putting out sometime in the next year. I don't know the publication date. Maybe she
Actually, it's
does.
probably might be 2 years. We'll
All
see.
right, I didn't want to get anybody's hopes up,
Sometime
but
in the
it's two
future.
years. There we go. So let's start with our blessing for study here. If you would like to, you can unmute. We'll say our blessing, and then we'll turn things over to Rabbi Van. Please join me, everybody. Baruch
Baruch
atah
atah
Adonai
Adonai,
Eloheinu
Eloheinu
melech
melech
haolam
haolam,
asher
asher
kidshanu
kitshanu
b'mitzvotav
b'mitzvotav
v'tzivanu
v'tzivanu
la'asok
la'asok
b'divrei
b'divrei
Torah.
Torah.
Blessed is the eternal source of the universe, whose mitzvot, whose commandments bring us holiness, and who commands us to immerse, to engage in words of Torah. Rabbi Van, please.
Thank you. It is so good to be here. Thank you, Rabbi Stryfer, for I don't know how they call you here, so it is really an honor to be here and what La Soak has created in this incredible international community. I want to ask a quick question as we start. I see some of you are from Texas and Hawaii and Florida. How many of you are going through it in the winter? If you could just sort of wave, or if your screen is off, raise your hand. How many of you are having super rough winter? Oh, I love the thumbs up. And you can put it in the chat. Um, Cuyahoga Falls, I'm in Shaker Heights, just so you know. Hello, neighbor. Um, so what I have put together is inspired by Tu Bish'vat. And Tu B'Shvat is the new year of the trees. And as I look out my window here, all I see is snow. So I always wonder, living in the Midwest and having grown up in the Poconos, how is it that, it can be the new year for trees when we're freezing, especially this year. Um, so got to Texas at age 70. Smart. I moved to Cleveland from Texas, so maybe I'm not so smart. Um, so what we remember is that Tu B'Shvat, the New Year for the trees, is based in what is happening in the climate in Israel. And in Israel, it's the beginning of spring. And if you've been in Israel in February and March, or end of January, it is really the beginning. It's when things are starting to sprout, when farmers are really thinking through what's going to happen. And it's really just a beautiful, beautiful time that's happening. Toby, your hand is already up. What
What
do
do
you
you
want to
know?
share?
While living in New York, I had an occasion to spend Tu B'Shvat in Palm Beach, Florida, and we had our Tu B'Shvat Seder outdoors.
There you
So,
go.
being a New Yorker, I can tell you it was thrilling.
There you go, right? So that is the inspiration, is to remind us, well, first of all, to remind me, seeing the 30 something inches of snow and the negative temperatures, that spring is going to come. Um, and that we have this obligation also to the environment. So I want to share a text, and I see that Cheryl lived both in Texas and Shaker Heights. We are following each other around, so maybe I'm going to Cuyahoga Falls next. So I want to share this text with you that I put together. And the text, so first I wanted, can everybody see that? Awesome. Okay. So, what I called the text is Hope and Climate Anxiety. And we're going to get to what climate, if you don't know what it is, don't worry, I will define it for you. And you can see how many hundreds of windows I have open at the top of my screen. So, when we talk about Tu B'Shvat, we call it the New Year for trees, right? It's not the New Year for the land. It's a New Year for trees. So I thought we'd do a couple of texts that are probably very familiar to you. And I want to do them relatively quickly so we can get to this concept of climate anxiety. While we're sharing the screen, I can't see all of you. So if your hand is up as we go through the text and I don't see you, you might need to interrupt me because I don't want to be rude. So, why focus on the trees? One of the texts that is really, really, I would say foundational is from Deuteronomy 20. And I love this text. So when we're in a process of war, I'll let you read it and I'm just going to talk about it because I believe that you know how to read. So when we're that was a little sarcastic, sorry. When we're in a war, right? And you if you are the warring side and you're about to make siege to a town, there's a rule, a law that we do not destroy the trees around a town. You do not force an axe against them. That's the middle of the text. You eat of them, but you don't cut them down. And here's the piece I put in italics. I think it's so beautiful. For is the tree of the field a man that it should be besieged by you? What does that mean? Does anybody want to try to unpack that text just quickly? I don't, let's see if I can see whose hand is up. Aviva and Yehuda.
Well, we just planted some trees that at our age might never produce,
Okay.
which for us, we're not necessarily planting for us. We're planting for the next generation. And
So
we have benefited from other people having planted things that we have harvested.
beautiful.
We are farmers in our background and we grow our own food here in Hawaii.
Mm,
And we treasure the whole nature of the growing process and realize trees in
mm,
particular take longer when we meet people who have moved here and purchased property. We suggest
beautiful.
immediately plant trees because they take a long time to grow and produce as much as 10
Hmm.
years. And
Yeah.
you know, when we moved here, we actually put fruit in the ground before we even took possession of the property. Same
What
kind of thinking.
can I ask you a question? When this vo verse says, "For is the tree of the field a man that it should be besieged by you?" What does that mean to you? It's an interesting turn of phrase. Very specifically that phrase. And then I'm going to turn to Cheryl.
Do you respond or
You
you want to?
can.
No, no.
No, take someone else. I don't have to talk forever.
Okay. So let me see. Hold on. So Cheryl and then Toby.
So the trees of the fields are not the ones fighting them.
Hmm.
The people, it would be people that might attack them. The trees are innocent. The trees are there to, if anything, give them fruit. So
Beautiful. Thank you.
I grew up in El Paso, by the way.
Okay, great. So I think Toby and then Sarah, and then we'll keep going.
I just think it means that the tree is a living thing and we have to treat it as we would treat a person
Mm,
because we depend on each other. The tree depends on us. We depend on the tree. And so, yep, the tree is like a
great.
person.
I love it. Sarah, hopefully
Um,
there's not too. Yeah, go ahead.
the tree is a gift from God, like all of us. And so we need to, as we honor, as we are taught and told to honor other beings, we must also honor the trees, not only because they nourish us, they keep us alive as humans
Yeah,
by that photosynthetic exchange that allows us to have oxygen while we give it our carbon dioxide.
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank Viva and Yehuda because they have segued us to this next text, the story that we all probably know already, and in many ways they've already taught us, right? So it's the idea of what happens when we plant a tree and we're not really planting it for ourselves, right? The story from the Talmud, one day it's about Honi, right? One day a man was walking down the road. He saw a certain man planting a carob tree. Honi said to him, "This tree, after how many years will it bear fruit?" And the man said to him, "It will not produce fruit until 70 years have passed." And Honi said to him, "Is it obvious to you that you will live 70 years? That you expect to benefit from this tree?" He said to him, "That man himself found a world full of carob trees. Just as my ancestors planted for me, I too am planting for my descendants." And so we know that when we plant, we are planting for the future. We might be planting for our own food and for our own beauty and for our own benefit. We all the more so are planting for the future. So Aviva and Yehuda, thank you for teaching us the story. Thank you for knowing what was in my head. Um, I'm pretty impressed. So let's move into what climate anxiety is, if you don't know. Climate anxiety, one definition among many, I found from Harvard Medical School. Climate anxiety, or eco anxiety, is distress related to worries about the effects of climate change, and is often accompanied by feelings of grief, anger, guilt, shame, which in turn can affect mood, behavior, and thinking. So I want to turn the share off for just 1 second and see if any of you have experienced some form of eco anxiety or climate anxiety in your life. You can put it in the chat. You can wave your hand a little bit.
Sabrina had
So,
a hand up there.
yeah, I missed it. Where did it go? Yeah, okay.
Sabrina, do you still want to speak? I guess not.
Okay. Aviva and Yehuda, did you want to talk? Or are you just raising your hand in agreement?
No, I I feel like it's a theme. I've been doing this for a number of months already, and this always comes to mind with accompanying the word tikva to me is a concept that our children and a lot of their compatriots are not having children, which I think is the most profound expression of lack of hope. And I think
Mm,
I mean, the world is changing so rapidly, and now you could say perhaps it's because of what's happening politically, both in the Jewish world, Israel, and the country that we live in here. But I think it is an eco anxiety. When you
mm,
talk to young people about the world they're living in and the issues they're facing, it almost feels like it feels like the correct conclusion is not to bring any more kids into this world
mm,
that's lacking in hope. So it does feel like we're so tied to the natural world around us. We can't survive,
mm,
without taking care of the environment we live in. And the younger generation understands that in a way that is profound. It's changing their outlook to a point where they're actually not creating hope. They're not
mm.
creating that next generation. It's very
Well, I wonder if we say not creating and then what do we do to provide that tikva? What do we do to provide tikva and tikkun and repair, right? So I want to give Alfred and James an opportunity, and then I want to go back to the text and see if we can find just a little bit of tikva. Alfred.
I have been a lifelong environmentalist, having been turned on to the issues uh, around Earth Day 1970, maybe a little before. I have a great deal of anxiety about the survivability of our planet and how we ignore things, not only climate, but also the incredible amount of microplastics that are in our environment, um, the overfishing, just name anything. We're very neglectful of our planet, and there's a constant pushback that our progress gets undone. At the same time, one of my clients, I do fundraising for political clients, is a Democratic county commissioner in Travis County, Texas, who got elected in 2014. Her name is Bridget Shea, and she ran. I thought she was a little bit nuts because she was saying she wanted to take on climate change at the local level. And I was thinking, well, county commissioners about jails, courts, and uh, people in need and poverty, transportation. What does that have to do with climate change? But she uh, pushed through these programs of resilience for our community to respond to flooding and fire, emergency notification, and also telecommuting, which has reduced the amount of carbon dioxide load, also reclaiming wastewater for things like air conditioning. So she, even though our federal commitment ebbs and flows with regard to this, she's shown that you can do this at the local level and become a recognized leader about this at UN conferences. So I
Wow.
hope.
Go Travis County. My sister lives
Thank
in
you.
Travis County.
Oh,
Awesome.
wonderful.
Yeah. James, go ahead. James, you're muted. You're having trouble unmuting.
In the meantime, while we're waiting for
Oh,
James,
yes,
David,
here I am. Here I
there
am.
we
Here
go.
I am. Yes, I found the button.
Okay, go ahead real
Yes,
quick.
hi. Hi, I'm calling from Sudbury, Ontario, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I lived all my life around, in nature. When my friends used to play ball games on the streets, I used to go hiking in the woods because I enjoyed the woods. I enjoyed nature. Like I get eco anxiety because I always hear about these mass extinctions going on like in the Amazon or in these places like that, and I think I give to environmental causes like Nature Conservancy and the World Wildlife Fund. That I also give the Jewish causes too by my donations. But I think if we help nature, we're helping ourselves. 'Cause we need nature for our peace of mind, right? For health, for mental health reasons.
Yes.
Because
Yes, thank you.
if everybody lives in like an urban jungle, like that's not good. That's not good for the psyche, really.
Thank you, James. Thank
Yeah.
you. Micah, did you want to share something?
Nope, all good.
Okay, Bruce, last one before we go to our next text.
Okay, thank you. So I'm still thinking about this idea of the war and how a tree is like a man or not, and I guess the vision I have of that writer is I was trying to express an understanding that the tree is not your enemy. Your
Mm,
tree is not what's threatening you. And you need to look beyond that idea to what the tree actually does and serve. And just like Alfred's been sharing and others have been sharing, the tree is a symbol of what the future can be. And I think that the rabbis are very uh, hopeful in our ability to see the future in our trees.
no.
Aviva and Yehuda shared that, expressed it very beautifully too. So anyway, just some thoughts I thought I
Well,
would.
Bruce, I'm so glad that you made that comment. That's really insightful. And it actually, I think, will serve us well in our next text. Thank you for that. It's really lovely. So this
Thank
text
you.
may also be one that you have heard before, another text from Honi Amagel, Honi the circle maker. And if you see, when you see this text, you'll see that there's bold text and not bold text. The not bold text is filled in from the Hebrew. You'll see the Hebrew is much shorter than the English. What the Hebrew is quite terse, and the translators offered these other phrases to make it more of a narrative. So it's a little bit more of a story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically read it like I'm reading a little bit of a story so that it makes some sense to you. And you'll see that there are some places that are quotes. And then we're going to try to unpack it. Okay. So this is from a Mishnah. An incident occurred in which the people sent a message to Honi Amagel, Honi the circle maker. This event is related in greater detail in the following Braita in a separate text. The sages taught. Once, most of the month of Adar had passed, but rain had still not fallen. They sent this message to Honi Hamagel: pray and rain will fall. He prayed, but no rain fell. He drew a circle in the dust and stood inside it, in the manner that the prophet Habakkuk did, as it is stated. And I will stand upon my watch and set myself upon the tower, and I will look out to see what he will say to me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. The verse is taken to mean that Habakkuk fashioned a kind of prison for himself in where he sat. Honi said before God, Master of the universe, your children have turned their faces to me, as I am like a member of your household. Therefore, I take an oath by your great name that I will not move from here until you have mercy upon your children and answer their prayers for rain. And so rain began to trickle down, but only in small droplets. And so Honi's students said to him, Rabbi, we have seen that you can perform great wonders, but this quantity of rain is not enough to ensure that we will not die. It appears to us that a small amount of rain is falling only for you to dissolve your oath, but it is not enough to save us. And so Honi said to God, I did not ask for this, but I asked for, parentheses, for rain to fill the cisterns, ditches, and caves. Rain began to fall furiously until each and every drop was as big as the mouth of a barrel, and the sages estimated that no drop was less than a log, a measurement, in size. And then his students said to him, Rabbi, we have seen that you can call on God to perform miracles, and we will not die. But now it appears to us that rain is falling only to destroy the world. And so Honi went back to God and said before God, I did not ask for this harmful rain either, but for a rain of benevolence, blessing, and generosity. And so subsequently, the rains fell in their standard manner until all of the people sought higher ground and ascended to the Temple Mount due to the rain. So here's what I think is happening in this story. And I would love to have lots and lots of time to unpack it. We only have a few minutes left. So let me do a little bit of unpacking for you. So Honi was asked by his people to ask for rain. And he drew a circle in the line. He literally drew a line in the sand and stood in that line, right? And refused to cross it until he got what he wanted from God. So what does that mean for us? He didn't say, I'm going to pray and pray and pray until it happens. He said, I have this line in the sand, this circle in which I am not leaving, and I have needs for my community. And this is my line in the sand, and I'm going to get it. Now, there's some material, there's some mystical, magical things that happen, but the essence of what does it mean to draw a line in the sand, know what your community needs, and not budge until your community gets what it needs. That's what I see happening with Honi. So this is what I wrote. As we grapple with our climate challenges, we should consider what hard lines we can draw and refuse to cross until we see the changes we need to see in our world. I think about what we were just taught. I believe it was by Stanley, that legislator drew hard lines in the sand. I'm going to be hyper local and see what I can do in Traverse County. What's happening with climate anxiety or eco anxiety is we feel powerless. So where are places that we can find power, where we can find areas where we have agency to draw those lines in the sand and make those changes? This interpretation was inspired by a text sheet that I found in the Blue Dove Foundation. So I want to hear some of your reactions. We have like 2 minutes left. So what do you think? Does this give you a little bit of hope? Aviva and Yehuda, go ahead.
The whole nature of creating boundaries also places value on your decision making.
Mm. Hmm.
And, Aviva and I have been, amongst our friends, we're very firm about our diet and how we set up the first organic farm in Kentucky. We were first, and it was not easy, but it's something that we said this is important to us, and we have continued to live with that ethos our whole lives, and people actually look to us without us seeking that because of that kind of decision making.
Yeah. It's a deep knowing of yourself and where your lines are drawn. That's
Sure, and
incredible.
it's not because we're great, but
Right.
we have benefited tremendously from it. The two of us are amongst our friends. They're quite amazed at our age. We're quite, I'm old, and yet I don't look old. And it's that there are benefits to actually creating boundaries. Boundaries are very important.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is
Yes.
a book. This is a story about boundaries, is my in my mind, and there are benefits that accrue to having boundaries.
Beautiful. Thank you. Rabbi, your hand was up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's also a story about committing to values,
Mm,
perhaps, and maybe we need that message right now in a world where more and more people say climate change isn't real, where sort of like when it seems like society has gone mad, what do? You draw a line and you stand behind it and say, I have values that tell me what's right, what's real. And, regardless of what goes on out there in terms of the weaponizing of truth and the unwillingness to listen to science, that there are actual real standards for what is true and for what's right for a community when it comes. You could apply this to climate change, you could apply it to immigration, you could apply it to human rights,
yes.
but it seems to me that there's a message here about drawing boundaries and sticking to values.
Yes. Yeah. I really was taken by this interpretation of the circle and the line being the most important part of the story. Because so often when I read commentary, it was about this dialogue between the connection between Honi and God, and not necessarily Honi and the circle. And in a time where we don't, where our boundaries are constantly being tested, where our values are constantly being tested, I found this re-envisioning really, um, gosh, really helpful to me, really helpful to how much we're being pushed, not just with like what Rabbi said, in so many, many different directions. It was very refreshing to me, and I'm happy to share it with you. And I'm right on time. I'm never on time. I'm so excited. Any other last thoughts? Well, thank you.
Let me
Aviva and
see.
Yehuda, what? Oh, go ahead, Rabbi. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Aviva and Yehuda. Quick last comment.
One quick
I
last
just
comment.
there's another aspect there that I don't even know how to touch, but the idea that when a terrible thing happens in society, it could spur solutions that could seem local but apply globally. So if too little
Mm,
rain falls, you know, a science could develop it for example, desalinating ocean water, right? Things like that. So
yeah,
that's what I
micro to
wanted to add.
macro. Yeah, the micro to the macro.
Well, let me say a huge thank you to Rabbi Allison Vann for this uplifting and hopeful discussion. This was really interesting.
Thank you.
Some texts that were familiar and some new interpretations, even for those of us who might have known some of the texts. Next week, we have Rabbi Rachel Bregman back with us again for
Oh,
something that's called Drawing Our Way to Hope. She has stressed that there is zero skill or artistic ability required, but we will be doing some drawing. So please come back next week to study with Rabbi Bregman again. Thanks again to Rabbi Allison Vann. One quick last comment. I put in the chat, we have one more Tu Bish'vat program coming up next Monday. It's called Hospicing the Earth, along the lines of what can we and can we not control. Living in a world where there is irreversible climate change. What does that mean for us? And you can sign up for that at the link that I'm putting into the chat. This is with Dr. Stephanie Gray. And I think it's going to be very, very interesting and worthwhile. So that's next Monday, and we'll see you all back next Thursday for Tikvah Through Text once again. An early Shabbat Shalom, and see you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the great welcome.